Good morning, comic book fans. Welcome back to Comics in 5 Minutes. I'm Evelyn O. Shorty, and I realised after watching back the video yesterday, wearing this jumper, it makes it look like I'm wearing some kind of black void. We are today going to be reviewing A Man's Best after that little divergence. This is a fantastic book, but it is absolutely heartbreaking, and beautiful and emotional and gut-punch at times. For people who don't know, it's written by the same person who did Good Asian, which won the Eisner Award, and that for me made me think I might be, going with really, really high expectations, but very quickly realising that this is a very, very different beast and as such can be taken on its own. The writer in question, I'm going to try to pronounce the name here, Piche Schultz. I apologise if I got this wrong. I had to go and find a YouTube video where somebody had interviewed them and hoped that the person interviewing them knew how to pronounce the name, without by Lonergan. And it is a masterful piece of work. It is absolutely fantastic. In the back of the book, the writer actually tells you a little bit about why they've done the story, why they've done this story. And they're talking about how people have gone through a crisis recently, and it's nice to know that we can get through it, and we can get through it by working together. And it's been eye-opening to see how big these problems can be, like how big the world is and how big these problems are within it. And it's a very true thing. I mean, since I've opened this comic book store, we had Brexit, which really for UK comic book stores did a number on us. All our prices went up by over 20% pretty much in a week. Then I had COVID, where we were barely able to open and send out stock. And then with the cost of living crisis, where people quite rightly realised that they had to actually buy gas and electricity and food and pay rent and all the kind of things which have gone up by a silly amount. And comic books are a luxury. I don't think art should be considered a luxury, but it is. And we were really struggling. And I ended up eventually getting some help, because I really needed it. There was a point where this store came very, very close to closing. And I went to get some help from somebody I never really wanted to, but they were very understanding. They laughed at me a little bit, but in a way which I understood to be friendly and genial. But the reason it took me as long as it did was because there's a little bit of your brain, when you're, British certainly, and ostensibly a guy, that tells you should be okay on your own. And this is a big problem. It affects a lot of people. I'm just picking my own lived experience for this one. But people in power want you to feel that way. The world tells you to feel that way. All heroic hero journey kind of stories tell you that's the way it should be. And more than that, there's a little bit of your brain which does grab hold of you by the collar and tells you, no, you don't need help. You're better than that. You're strong. You can get through this on your own. And that is a very seductive voice to hear. That's the kind of thing where it's easy to go along with it because people want to feel like they can do these things. They want to feel like they are good enough to get through a crisis. But I am better now than I was as a young man, and that voice eventually faded away, and I got help. And reading Man's Best, it was a very eye-opening to see. It's not just me, it's not just any one person. Everyone goes through these challenges at some point, and the best thing to do is have help. Because what we have is our three main characters, the adorable Athos, Porthos, and Lovey, brilliant names by the way, who are characters who understand they are small in the grand scheme of things. But they also understand that although it is challenging to help, they should help. And they absolutely have a lead firm belief that they can. Not just that they can, that they should, that they have to. That's what they are there for. They are there to help. It's heartbreaking at times when, from an outside point of view, you realise what this is a cat and two dogs in this horrible situation. But it's very hard not to be emotionally moved by the struggle and to cheer them on every step of the way, even when the struggle makes it hard for them to stay friends and they're snapping and biting at each other, and realising that maybe it's okay to panic a little bit as long as you are still there for each other. And yeah, that and the fact that Lonergan's artwork is beautiful. I mean, he's got like a deftness of line which I really like. It's smooth as it needs to be, but it's not obsessively so. He can get himself a bit scruffy when he needs to. The fact that he's doing his own colouring is really, really a good thing. It means he trusts himself to shade and colour in a way which means we don't need to worry about cross-hatching or too much just black inking. It looks beautiful. The fact that we see an awful lot of what the animals experience is their own imagined world where they are these creatures or these individuals who can do more than anyone else ever expects them to, is beautiful in its own way. But then the real world itself is very down to earth for an over-the-top sci-fi setting, and it works really effectively. As a couple of final points, it is also talking about big structural things like climate change and what people can do about it. And I'm fairly sure, I can't speak fully on this one, I think there's some neurodivergence coded characters in here, and I think that's a fantastic thing if it is, because they do a really good job of presenting them in ways which would be not just sympathetic, like they need sympathy, but interesting and empathetic characters that people would want to cheer on, go and see great things. All in all, it's brilliant. I'm going to leave you with the thought that if you slept on The Good Asian, and in this store a lot of people did, only 2 people were down for it as it was coming out monthly, this is your chance to not miss out on the next amazing thing that this guy's done. I absolutely love it. Check it out. That's it for me for this week. I'll be back next week. Make sure you do the social media thing. Until then, look after yourself, everyone. Stay safe. Bye.